The sitcom On the Buses was specially commissioned. London Weekend Television was a new channel. It just started up and it broadcast from around about 5-6 o'clock on a Friday evening all the way through to Sunday evening in the London area. And they went to the writers Ronald, Wolfe and Ronald Chesney, who were very well known for churning out good sitcoms. Meet the Wife with Doris Hare, The Rag Trade with Peter Jones and Reg Varney. And Frank Muir, who was running London Weekend Television, said, "What can you do for me? I want a comedy that's very specific to London." And they said, "Well, we've been having thoughts about doing a comedy around buses and someone driving a bus, and you can't get much more London than London buses. And can we give that a try?" And he commissioned them and said, "Yeah, why not? Based on what you've done so far, big hits, give us On the Buses." So Reg Varney, who played Stan Butler in On the Buses, he had great stage roots, sort of vaudeville almost type, sort of northern style comedy. He was great. That's how he'd been brought up from a very, very young age. I think he was in his teens. So he'd always been on stage. He'd learnt how to do the pratfalls, how to make people laugh, how to move fast, how to move quickly, and how to deliver a line. Of course, in those days, you know, you could be delivering jokes on stage. Some would work, some wouldn't. So you had to be very, very fast in your delivery. So if one went past, the audience didn't get fed up and you got another one straight through coming afterwards. So he knew how to perform in front of an audience. And that's very important when you're doing television comedy, because while you rehearse during the week without an audience, when you actually perform it, you're performing it in front of a live audience. It's not canned laughter. So he knew how to build in the gaps to allow the people to laugh, and also how to not react to people laughing. In other words, not corpse himself or look directly at them, but to allow them and allow the joke to run. He was a natural performer, a very funny man, who by the time he was doing On the Buses was late 40s, early 50s. So he had a whole lifetime of experience behind him even by that stage. People who watch On the Buses look at Anna Karen playing Olive, right, in the late 1960s, and they think, crikey, that's not a very attractive character, looks quite ugly, is not made up, etc. But if just a year earlier, if you're watching her carefully, you'll see her in a bit part in Carry On Camping, standing very close next to her very dear friend Barbara Windsor, in the scene where Barbara loses her bra. And in fairness to Anna, she did glamour modelling herself and was a very pretty woman at that time. So in fact, she was quite surprised when she turned up for the interview with the two Ronnies, Ronald, Wolfe and Chesney, the writers and the producer and director. She hadn't had time to get all made up. She looked a bit messy and was a bit concerned she might lose the part because she looked messy. And they said, "No, that's exactly what we want. Keep it. In fact, we want to make it look slightly less attractive than that," which was a bit of a shock to her. But it's such a great character. And it's the comedy that plays through the fact that she regards herself as a bit of a dolly bird and very attractive and a bit of a sex pot. But her husband thinks less of a sex symbol and more of a sex thimble, and doesn't really want to go anywhere near her. So that's where a lot of the comedy derives itself from On the Buses when they're at home. The best sitcoms have a family at the centre. So even though On the Buses is about life on the buses, the family sequences at home were just as funny as anything that went on at the bus depot, particularly because all the characters are actually not kids anymore. They're sort of well into their 30s and 40s, and you've got the mother, played by Doris Hare, trying to keep these rowdy, argumentative older children together. And that part was played by Doris Hare in the 3 films and also in most of the series. The first 2 series on television, Cicely Courtnidge, a very famous actress, played the mother, and then it went over to Doris Hare, and it really began to gel. And she was more than just about playing it for comedy. So, you know, sometimes she got annoyed with Arthur if he was having a go at her daughter, or if any of the men said anything inappropriate. She said, "I won't have language like that in my house." But she could also have her own bits of fun, like in an episode when she'd go out late at night with someone, because she says, "Well, just because I'm getting older doesn't mean I can't go and have a bit of fun too." But she was a great character actress. She'd had over, I don't know, 60 or 65 screen credits. She was one of those actresses that you looked at and you always thought, is that Doris Hare, Thora Hird or Kathleen Harrison? One of those faces that always appears in British films and British comedy over the years, and that they all get confused with. But she was great, and I think she was never better. She was 65 by the time she started. Again, had a whole lifetime and career behind her in acting, but I think On the Buses really cemented her in the eyes of the public, and then it would do, because the show was getting between 15 and 20 million viewers a week. So I think she enjoyed it as much as the audiences did.